Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, strategic partners through Done-For-You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Richard Weil is the principal and owner of National Restaurant Consultants and leads a nationwide food service and hospitality team of professionals. He has over 38 years of executive level management experience and has been associated with the food service and hospitality industry for over 40 years. He is the past chairman of the Colorado Restaurant Association and an industry leading professional with hands-on experience at all levels. Richard, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. And yourself? I'm doing well.
I'm doing great too. Thank you so much. Hey, we'll get into National Restaurant Consultants in just a bit, but prior to National Restaurant Consultants, tell me about some of your experience in the restaurant industry.
Okay, sure. So I owned and operated a pizza restaurant chain for about 11 years. It was called Nick and Willie's Pizza. It's still around. And myself and some partners, we ran it. We opened a total of 134 restaurants over about an 8-year period, and successful in doing that, and sold the business to some folks up in Salem, Oregon about 11, 12 years ago. Prior to that, I was involved in and around the food service and hospitality industry and supply chain for over 20 years. And so now, for the last 9 years, I've been doing the restaurant consulting. So that's over 40 years, if you would, in the C-suite environment of the food service and hospitality industry. And so I've seen everything from, if you would, full service, fine dining, to fast food, fast casual. We've been involved with pretty much everything in between as well.
What is it about the restaurant industry that has been and is particularly appealing to you?
Well, I think part of it, Chad, is that every day is different. That's what makes it exciting still for me, is that we don't see the same customers every day. We don't have the same product mix every day. Things are changing. Things are moving. Now, of course, in the last almost 2 years, it's been a little overwhelming as far as the changes that we've seen, the pivots that we've had to make and continue to have to make because of the pandemic. But we're an industry of resilience. I think that's another thing that I love about our industry. We're an industry of resilience. We're an industry of optimism. We're an industry that figures things out. We really like the word hospitality. It's in our logo, National Restaurant Consultants. The pineapple is part of our logo, which the pineapple is the universal symbol for hospitality. So we believe in that, and we live and breathe it every day. So those are the things that we really still enjoy about the industry.
You mentioned that you were in charge of Nick and Willie's. I used to live near Nick and Willie's, and I love Nick and Willie's. How did that kind of evolve under your leadership?
So Nick and Willie's was started over 20 some odd, almost 30 years ago, by a couple of guys in Boulder. And my partner and I bought the original Nick and Willie's guys out in 2001, about 4 months before 9/11, in fact, and with the whole process, a whole belief that we would go out and franchise Nick and Willie's because we loved it. We loved the concept, and we did. And we went out and franchised, and as I said, we opened up 134 restaurants. So my experience, along with my business partner, we understood not only supply chain, but we understood processes, and we grew the business. And then later brought on a different partnership group out of Canada, and then we basically sold the business off. That'd be 12 years ago coming up.
I think that one in Boulder was probably the one that I used to live close to. How did National Restaurant Consultants then come about?
So the original individual who started it had a Cracker Barrel background And essentially, if you thought about it, during one of the recessions, had left Cracker Barrel. He had a human resource background and believed that there was an opportunity to help restaurants with turnarounds. And that was the premise of it, is to help them come and be a problem solver, to help them figure out a way and thought processes and systems to get through things. And then an individual who's still the president of our company, who I purchased the company from a few years ago, has remained on with us. He bought that company, the original National Restaurant Consultants, about 12 years ago. And then I started with the company about 10 years ago. And the whole belief behind National Restaurant Consultants is that we are a solutions-based company. We help concept. So we will help brand new restaurants. We will help them concept. We can do systems, supply chain, restaurant design, interior design. We can then network our vast network, if you would, of resources, which goes all the way from SBA funding into real estate, architect, general contracting, not just in the Colorado market, but throughout the United States. And we'll help people go from A to Z to get a restaurant open. Then about the other half of our business is centers around turnarounds or problem solving, working with restaurants, finding solutions to help them be successful. And of course, during COVID, during the pandemic, we did 7 months of pro bono work, 100%. From March of 2020 through September of 2020, we didn't do any billings. We did everything pro bono for restaurants. Whoever called us, we wanted to help them. We weren't traveling necessarily, and we really did very limited travel, but we were helping people through Zoom calls or phone calls or texts or whatever to help them get through this. So we help people get their PPP round 1, PPP round 2, their RRF money. We helped restaurants get their PPP loans forgiven. We helped people get their economic injury disaster loans. We did whatever we could to help people survive. That included writing a protocol last March into early April. We were published in, I believe it was about 7 or 8 different national publications on protocols for how to deal with the pandemic, with to-go orders, cashless, touchless payments, social media, how to gain, how to stay at the top of the mind awareness, if you would, with clients. I mean, with their clients, with their guests, and not to disappear. And we know a lot of restaurants did disappear, and we understand why and how. Some restaurant concepts just didn't travel well. And when we were locked down so heavily from mid-March till really the 1st of June, across most of the country, some restaurants, their food just, if you were deep fried and breaded food, it just didn't travel real well. I mean, it was very difficult. And so we did have a lot of people go away because, again, they either got, I would say, totally scared or freaked out and were not able to pivot. And then a lot of restaurants were pivoting. We had a restaurant example in Laguna Beach, California, that basically turned themselves into a deli. And they did wholesale business out of their restaurant on the second floor. They turned their dining room into a small grocery store. And they bought products from their distributor, like whole chickens, leg of lamb, rack of lamb, et cetera. And they basically went on social media in their community and they survived it. We also help people negotiate with their landlords and with their bank loans. And those are the things that we did to help people stay relevant and to survive. So we've done a lot of pivoting in the last year and 3/4 or so.
Sure. It sounds like you gave some great advice and you gave it to them pro bono. That's incredible. How did you know, how much kind of rewiring did it take for you guys to know what to do in terms of how to help them?
Well, first, we did a lot of research. I mean, our group of 6, I have to commend our entire team because we sat there right after the shutdown and we got on the phone. We did our own Zoom call. We brainstormed and said, how do we help people survive this? How do we stay relevant for not just our customers, but for anybody who needs help? And so we did a lot of research. We did a lot of reading on the CDC. We got involved with health departments. We read a lot, and each one of our folks had an assignment. They basically did their own, if you would, thesis on either supply chain, sanitation, touchless, cashless, social media. We have a co-branding partner that we utilize called Top Line Management, who happens to be in Broomfield, Colorado. And we got him involved. His name is Brian Devine. We got Brian involved. And we started a weekly blog video, not like this where it's an hour long, what you're doing. We do an 8 to 10 minute video every Wednesday. And we're doing our 146th recording today, 146 recordings. So we did them every day for about 4 months. Then we went to once a week. And we wanted to keep relevant as to what that topic was. And we ended up getting several thousand people following us. And over the course of the year and a half here, almost 2 years, we know that we're well into the 400,000 or 500,000 people that have followed and watched our videos. That in by itself provided people hope. And I think that was the thing, that was our message. How do we become relevant for the food service operator and provide them hope? Because people were panicked, and they still are. I mean, people are still very concerned. There's no more gifts out there in terms of money from the government, and I don't foresee that. There's the consumer wants to dine out, and of course, some of them have to wear masks. Some of them have to show a COVID card, et cetera, or a pandemic a vaccination card, if you would. There's still that concern. So how do we give them hope? And that's really been the message. How do we provide hope? And what do we still need to do to provide that hope? And we're doing that. A lot of research. We spent hours on it.
How has the strategic decision in terms of National Restaurant Consultants to offer services pro bono for that amount of time kind of worked out for you, over the course of time?
Well, we think it's paying off, and it's paid off in this last half of 21. We're busy. Pretty much all of our consultants are about as busy as they can or want to be. We can always be busier. We're never going to refuse a conversation. We're not picking and choosing. We're happy to help anybody still, but we believe that all that work is paying off as far as word of mouth references. We've come up with new and different ways to do social media. We've increased our list, if you would, of email contacts, and we're getting our message out to more people. And we're doing an electronic letter out at least once a week, and of course our video, and then we do a blog. So I think it's all the above have helped to stay, if you would, at the top of the mind, or at least referrals, references, things like that.
So in terms of what you guys do, what are some of the most common stumbling blocks for new restaurateurs? I'm sure people start out with a good idea. Maybe they've been a chef. Maybe they've had certain experiences that they think will work out. Are there some kind of common elements that are often overlooked or are stumbling blocks for new restaurateurs?
Well, first and foremost, with any customer or any client that is looking to start a concept, if they've not ever been in the restaurant business, which a lot of them haven't, because those are the people that call us, they need the help. First thing that we say to them, go read the E-Myth. Go read the E-Myth or E-Myth Revisited, because it'll talk about being an entrepreneur and all those reasons why maybe they aren't really cut out to be an entrepreneur. They have great ideas. They have a fun idea, a cool idea, but going to that next level of being an entrepreneur. And then we ask them to read Who Moved My Cheese? Because if they're going to move into the restaurant space, that's a big change in their life. And so we really almost don't say that's required reading. We really give them suggested reading because they're not long. But the first thing and foremost, if they're willing to go read that, and then they come back to us and say, well, I fit that bill, I'm in that mode. And we interview the clients pretty extensively. That first hour and a half, we spend a good amount of time just really trying to get in their head to see if that makes sense. Now, if it's an existing chef with an existing idea, they're usually a little further along, but sometimes they think they know more or they've got all the answers. And unfortunately, until it's too late, they think that they've got all the culinary answers. Great, they do. They think they have all the operations answers. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Or they have a friend who helped somebody with a website or social media, and they've got all these friends and they want to take shortcuts in terms of saving money, saving dollars, and not doing the business plan. So the first thing is they need to do a business plan, whether they have it in their mind or not, and a 1 through 5 year financial forecast. Because if you don't set a roadmap in place in our industry, you're going to become one of those statistics in the first 3 years. It's highly probable you are not going to survive past 3 years. And we've even gone as far with potential prospects and said, give me $50,000 and I'll save you $500,000. And we're kidding, of course, but it wakes people up to say, what? Yeah, cut us a check for $50,000. We'll save you $500,000. We wish you the best. And what do you mean? Well, you don't have a viable concept in all likelihood, and your probability for success is not very high. And therefore, you really should rethink this. And we're trying to be good citizens with you and being open and honest and transparent. Maybe you shouldn't do this. We're polite about it. But the answer is sometimes not everybody's cut out to do it. And so we actually have given that information to clients. And I hate to say this, but we're right in the middle of doing that right now with one of our clients right now. We've done their financial forecast. We've done their business plan. And we're in the middle of saying to them, might not be the best idea for you all to go forward. And it's a hard conversation, but it's the right conversation, because you'd rather see people not take their life savings or sign personal guarantees and have their house as collateral, or worse, their kids' college education tied into a 401k, and all of a sudden somebody loses $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and they're ruined because they thought that this was going to be a great idea. It's a tough business. As you know, our industry's tough. It's hard enough. The SpotOn people have got a good product, or one of your sponsors. I noted that, and obviously I'm aware of it. We've got a few of our clients that are on the SpotOn program and on the system, their POS system. They've got a great touchless, cashless system. And they've got a good system that interacts with all of the third-party delivery people. That's great. What happens is you get these new entrepreneurs in there and they sit there and say 18, 20, 23%, I got to pay these people. They don't necessarily always understand the whole ramification of that and what the benefit of having the right point of sale system and right merchant services. So walking people through this, one of the first questions that we always want people to understand is being the least cost and the least cost solution isn't always the best solution. There's a reason why it's the least cost solution. Maybe you want an aspen tree to plant that's really like a weed versus a big old strong oak or a maple. Well, that maple is going to last 30, 40 years, and that aspen tree's only got single roots, and yeah, it'll spread out. But boy, one strong wind and that baby's down. And so it's things like that, little anecdotes that were kind, but we're honest with people. And this is not an industry for the faint at heart, because it'll eat you alive as far as your time. We have people that are single moms, or a husband and wife, where somebody is going to keep their day job and the other one's going to run the restaurant. And it's going to consume them to 60 to 80 hours a week. Is that a lifestyle change that they really want for their family? Is that really what they want? And so those are the questions that we ask right from the get-go on a new concept, because it's important.
Has there been, I have a couple of example questions for you. The first one is a new client that came to you that you thought was a good fit and ready to start their own concept or their own restaurant. Can you give me an example of one of those that you kind of really helped guide and made an impact for?
Oh, we have. I prefer not to use their name if that's okay.
Sure.
We prefer, in this case, we really try and keep our clients out of the public eye unless they give us those permissions. We've got a new client that's maybe only been open 6 months to a year. We have one, and I'll say it's back in New Hampshire, and took a while to get this thing open. And of course, we couldn't get them open during COVID. New Hampshire was locked down beyond belief where they were located, and it took forever to get the city to get them going. And they've been open over a year now. They got opened in June. No, we actually got them open like end of June, 1st of July of 2020. and they're killing it. They're doing great. And, you know, that's because we dotted I's and crossed T's with the operation and the concept. And we went through all the right processes of the planning, the business plan, the 1 through 5 plan, the marketing, the social media, making sure there was a consumer for it. There was the location, the remodel. It was an existing building, an old, was that a 180-year-old building? It was just terrific. And all the pieces fell into place. But the owner, he believed in what we were doing with one of our consultants, our vice president of our company out of the Phoenix area. This was his project. He was masterful at it. He spent time in it. In fact, he even went back. He traveled on an airplane in June of 20 after some of the planes got opened again. And he was one of like 7 people on an airplane. There was no food service at the Phoenix airport, or I think he had to go through Chicago. I don't remember. But those are the kinds of things we persevered through and got this restaurant open. And they're just doing huge. And it's because, again, plan the plan and work the plan. That's one example. We've got another one in Illinois. Plan the plan and work the plan. It's the same piece of information, same advice. So it really is the planning process and making sure you've got an expert around you that really understands what you're trying to get done.
What about a client, without naming them, who had been struggling? You know, maybe they were freaked out that they were going to lose it, and then they consulted with you, and now they're kind of back on their feet. Do you have an example of a situation?
Yeah, I do,
like
and I do, and this is one here in the Colorado market. It's a five store group here in Colorado. They've been around 35 years. They had to close during COVID. They didn't really feel they had product that traveled well. They never really done much to go carry out. So they literally shut it down in mid-March until the second week of June when we got involved. I'm proud to say not only are their numbers rebounded from 2019, we've been able to grow their business to where they're doing almost 27% more sales than 2019. Forget about 2020. Pre-pandemic, we've grown their business by 25+%. And that was a business that literally, I would say, was within weeks away of permanently closing, and 125 employees out on the street without a job. So yeah, there was a lot of that. I'm going to move here real quick because I'm getting sunlight on me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do here. Unfortunately, I'm taking this from a car, as you know, so let me move. That's got to be better right there, right?
Yeah, that's good. That looks great. I just have a couple more questions for you. How important is it, would you say, for a new restaurateur to consult with a restaurant consultant?
Well, if it's a new restaurateur that's basically has the business acumen, that's wonderful. If they don't have the food service and hospitality industry experience, it's critical to put a consultant into your budget, because we become not only the safety net, but we become the experience that you need to be successful. So as these couple of examples in Illinois and in New Hampshire, Arizona, we've got examples all over Colorado, Florida, Washington, Northern California, Southern California, you name it. We are the ones that really. Is that mine with the background noise? I apologize.
No, that would be the people working on the grass right outside of me. I would think it's past time to work on grass, but they are.
Oh, I'm sorry okay. I didn't mean to interrupt my thought.
That's okay.
Because I see a guy just down the street here with a blower blowing leaves. So,
oh yeah.
Anyway, so going through this, I think it's extremely important that somebody, whether they don't get a consultant, they get an expert, and a consultant should be an expert. People who have the references, people who have proven track records that can help people with new and great ideas to figure out what is it that we need to do. When we start a restaurant, we have a almost 450 step process, seriously, of items and things that from the get-go are questions that need to be answered, and action plans that need a person and a timeline that need to get completed. Now, not all 450 steps necessarily happen in every new restaurant startup, but those questions get asked on 450. And I will tell you what it does. And there's a client of ours down in Castle Rock, Colorado. He's famous for saying, well, I'm going to ask the next question. And what's the next question? And we really, this client, he's great because he helps you get into what's the next question, what's the next answer, because there's usually always the next question. When you're opening a restaurant, there's usually the next question. And in today's world, finding staff, supply chain, it's brutal. It's just brutal. But, those are things, what's the next question? We have answers. We're helping people get through the whole process of trying to figure out what is it that has to be done to solve the supply chain, to solve the staffing issues, because those are the number 1 and 2 crisis questions of today. And we're helping restaurants get through that. Not that we have all the answers, because good Lord, no one's written the book about the pandemic. Nobody's got every chapter figured out here. And as you know, we're seeing things like in San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, where you've got to show a COVID card or a vaccination card. Well, I'm not here to politicize anything. I'm just here to say, what do you have to do to be smart as an operator to work through this, that you don't, A, get out of compliance, and B, what do you have to do to make your guests feel comfortable that you don't upset a guest? So I think, yes, having an expert behind you, with you, and for you all the way, that will help ensure that at least for the first year, and we usually stay on for a year with our clients that we help open on projects, that they get set up for success, that they're cash flowing positive, that they're meeting, if they've got an SBA 7A, 505 loan, whatever, or conventional loan, we often get into the business plan where the bank says, oh, you got an expert behind you. We'll approve this loan.
Hey, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. You've had some incredible insights. I have one more question for you. But before I ask you that question, where can people find out more about National Restaurant Consultants?
Well, we're on the website. You can just hit National Restaurant Consultants as a Google or on any of the search engines. But it's restaurantconsulting.us is another way to find us. Restaurantconsulting.us. You can actually find me, Richard Weil, on LinkedIn. You can find National Restaurant Consultants on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. National Restaurant Consultants on Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on Instant Messenger, of course, on the web. And then we do our weekly blog. So it's just it's easy to find us that way.
Last question for you. You mentioned some books that you recommend to your clients. Are there books that you have particularly enjoyed or found valuable, for your own edification?
Oh, well, I do like, again, if you would, the 1 Minute Manager. I love that book. I do like a lot of the E-Myth, as I said. I read 3 to 4 articles every day from the trades, whether it be Restaurant Business, Restaurant Institution, or Nation's Restaurant News. Not to be an advertisement for those publications, but they're very good. And I read something every day. And I think that's the key. If you stay informed, also join your state restaurant association. Yes, I'm a past chairman of the Colorado Restaurant Association. I was also on the board in New Mexico, California. I'm the current chairman of the board of the International Food Service Executives Association. Continue your education in the industry. It takes 5 to 8 minutes a day. It's good relaxation. I do it between 6 and 7 in the morning. I read 3 or 4 small articles every day. Just to, one, make sure my brain stays on, but more importantly, just to keep in touch and on tap what's going on. But the restaurant associations in the state, which tie into the National Restaurant Association, it's not about politics. It's about surviving in your industry. It's not about politics. Always be sure that you protect your investment and protect your wallet by being informed.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you. You've got some great insights. I really appreciate your time today.
Chad, my pleasure. And maybe we can reciprocate, get you on one of my weekly blogs. That'd be awesome.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
I'll get in touch. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.